My name is Dave Boulos. I'm with the Winthrop Management Group. What I'm focused on in my presentation and our participation in Cycle 2 is what I call kind of the edge of the cloud, the need for mobile applications for the first responders. So when we look at first responders, what is the need when they're out in the field? Now, another thing that the general mentioned, that it took 96 hours in the last disaster. We're here today to talk about making that a faster process. However, there's a lot of cases that those people, those feet on the street, may hit the ground faster than the network comes up. So what we're talking about today is we're talking about our application, which is called FirstSight. It is a mobile application that was designed specifically to address the needs for first responders. And what I just talked about was there's scenarios where those first responders may be on the ground and they need a tool that allows them to collect information on their findings, and we've referenced a few times a bridge collapse, a building collapse. Be able to collect that information, pictures, memos, audio files, whatever, and collect that information and have an ability to store it on their mobile device, as well as, once there is a network availability, be able to share that information with other first responders or up into the cloud where it can be translated over to different virtual organizations to be shared down. Another key requirement when you look at that scenario is they put people on the street, they're creating an infrastructure. There may be a temporary infrastructure. It may be cellular-based. They may put hotspots associated with that. This application, FirstSight, is again designed specifically to address that need, whether it's a temporary infrastructure or a full-time infrastructure that is a low bandwidth requirement so it can operate over either a cellular or a wireless network. And storing forward is, again, I talk about the ability for these folks to be able to collect that information locally, be able to store that information, then push it to the cloud. Extensible and flexible, what does that mean to a first responder? Well, there's a lot of different types of first responders. There's a medical team, law enforcement, fire and rescue. The application needs to be very flexible for these folks to be able to customize it depending on their needs. I'm a first responder. I'm on the ground. I'm collecting my information. I'm able to store it locally. Then when the network's available, be able to push it up into a cloud. In our case, it's our virtual organization. Whereupon my other folks, my other first responders on the ground who are also running that application will receive my information, be able to view my pictures, my notes, or anything associated with that on a geo-labeled mapping. Now, in addition to that, by being a cloud-based storage, I can actually share this information or have the groups like the Telos or the Boeing or the Raytheon folks be able to extract my information from the cloud. In addition, I can also push my information via the CASREP emailing capability or an import-export functionality to these other groups where the command center would have that information to be able to dispatch the people that need it. Again, we go back to multiple scenarios where we saw where there was a bridge collapse, a warehouse needing services. My information can feed into that cloud to help with the dispatch of those folks. So I want to set up a scenario for my demonstration. I am a first responder. I'm a team 1. I'm a civil engineer first responder. I've been told to go to a warehouse to check on its status as to be a potential distribution center for stuff coming in. Upon my arrival, I find that the warehouse is damaged and there's a need for medical assistance. Bob, acting as a member of Team 2 of the civil engineering, has been sent to a different location to check on another warehouse for its usability. However, upon his arrival, he saw that the warehouse is usable, but access to that warehouse is not available due to a bridge being out. So part of my demonstration is I have a cellular device via my iPhone running the application. Bob over there additionally has a cellular device, our iPad. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to enter a tag, per se, associated with my findings of that warehouse. So I go in and I say, okay, warehouse. Okay, I finished my entry. Now, up at the warehouse, I said, okay, this is my location. I've taken my picture. I put my information in. Bob being at another location, running the application, sees that the information that I just entered is now shown up on his application. And specifically, this particular application, we have a custom icon associated with a damaged building. This can be anything they want to be. So again, if it was a fire and rescue organization, it could be, you know, the crosses. If it could be law enforcement. It's customized. So Bob can also see that he can go into it. He can pull up the information I entered. This could be text. Bob, go back. This could be audio notes, so I could actually do an audio note on my cellular phone and he could hear it, as well as photos. So let's run through the second part of my scenario. Now Bob, now that you'll be able to see how he does this, is going to report on his findings, which is the second warehouse is usable. So he opens up his application. He finds his icon associated with his report. He can set his date and time. Again, anything else he wants to add, he can add an email. And now that icon's created. So he's like, okay, the warehouse is usable. Yeah, but I want to let these folks know, whether it's back in the command center or the other guys on the ground, that they can't come here via this bridge. So he opens up that. He can add his pictures or the other additional information he wants. Again, this is all customizable. These features can be added or subtracted depending on the first responder's needs. And upon his completion, he can sync that information, or he can export it, or he can email via a RASRAT to the cloud. And I go like this. And now that information is now seen on my phone. So there's this ability to share information across first responders, as well as to push that information up into the cloud. So just so we understand the people who are not in the room, they understand what we just did. We went on site, we opened the application, we added information, we added the ability to put in notes, pictures, memos, and then push that stuff up into the cloud. Talking with the general, before this, I actually added this bullet. He said that one of the lessons learned from Haiti was the lack of situation awareness in the early hours after a quake. And what that means is a lot of times that infrastructure was in place, and that these people on the ground, first responders, are probably the first eyes and ears to see what the situation was to report back. And the use of an application like FirstSight gives them that capability to collect that information and feed it back to the command center, or need to collect that information and then feed it back to the command center when there's an infrastructure available. It also has to be able to be very flexible in its communications. So regardless if it's a wireless or it's a hotspot or satellite communications, the application needs to be able to support that communication. And lastly, again, what I demonstrated today was a scenario as a civil engineer and his needs for the type of icons and information he needs to put in regarding his findings. However, this can be easily translated over to law enforcement, fire, medical rescue, to create the particular feature sets that they need associated with the information they need to put in when they hit the ground.